Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Miha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So Tata Steel tournament in Vikings is over, Magnus Carlsen won by the way, lots of nice games were played there, and let's go to the 12th round, a duel between Samuel Shankland and Sergey Karjakin. Let's see what happened. Sam Shankland had white pieces and he started with d4, knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, and now bishop to b4, and we have Nimzo Indian defense, and now white plays f3. So this is this f3 or Qe2 variation, however you want to call it, but the point is that white battles for this e4 square with this f3 pawn. Of course, knight on c3 cannot help it because it's pinned by the bishop, so this is the whole point of this Qe2 variation. So black's tried the center with c5, and now white plays d5 according to the theory, and black plays b5 also pretty much according to the theory, trying to undermine this defender of pawn on d5. So white immediately counteracts with additional defense, so e4 was played. And now black plays d6. Now, of course, white can grab this pawn, but if white grabs it, then e-pawn grabs this d-pawn. Even if e-pawn recaptures, yeah, knight cannot capture, but black can easily castle, and this rook gets to harass the white king because white king is here on the open line, so black actually gets a lot of counterplay here. So in the game, white plays bishop to d2, unpinning this knight on c3, and black reacts with a6. Now a4 was played, this pawn on b5 is now double attack, so black decides to release the tension, b captures on c4 was played. Now, of course, bishop recaptures here on c4. This pawn is now double attack. There are many ways for black to continue. Let's say castling is definitely one of them. I don't know, maybe queen to e7 also. But here, black sets up a very nice pawn sacrifice. So black plays knight from b goes to d7. Like I said, this pawn on e6 is double attack, so white immediately grabs the opportunity. D pawn captures on e6, f pawn recaptures, and now bishop captures on e6. Now white is a pawn up, but now black plays knight goes to e5. So knight has jumped from b8 to e5 and is threatening to jump on d3 with check, trying to deprive the white from the right to castle. So first white plays bishop captures on c6, queen recaptures, and now white has to protect this knight to d3 jump somehow. Of course, queen to c2 doesn't help because after c4 this square is protected. White doesn't have a light square bishop anymore, so this would not be the best option actually. So white plays bishop to f4. Now d3 square is protected, and of course black plays c3. Now d3 square is reinforced, preparing to jump with the knight. Now this is a very unpleasant situation. Well, let's see. If white, for example, tries with, I don't know, knight from g goes to e2, then simply knight to d3 check, after maybe king to f1, then queen to c5, threatening checkmate here on f2. There isn't any good way to defend it except for a bishop to g3, but then simply knight to g4, threatening with knight to e3, forking both king and the queen. And if, for example, if f-pawn captures, then we have rook to f8. This is check, so white can only defend with knight to f4, but after rook captures on f4, of course, bishop cannot capture because then we have mate here on f2, and the game for white will be soon over. Okay, so in this position, white had no other option but to capture knight on e5. So bishop captures on e5, d-pawn recaptures, and now let's see where we are. Black can castle, white cannot yet, because if, let's say, if white plays knight from g goes to e2, then black simply plays queen to c5. Now this g1 square is under attack, so white cannot castle. So in the game, white plays knight goes to h3, preparing to jump on f2, creating interference of this diagonal. So first black plays bishop to c5. Of course, this f2 square is under attack, so knight cannot jump because then king has to capture it, losing right to castle. So first white plays queen to e2, further reinforcing this f2 square. And now, of course, black plays rook to g8, putting pressure on this pawn on b2. And now white plays knight goes to f2, preparing to castle. Black plays queen to b7, and now white finally castles king side. And now, of course, black captures this pawn on b2. Now material is equal. Okay, black has free pawn, but this is not sort of an advantage. Let's say here in this position, white could of course capture this queen on b2, and after black would recapture, after I don't know, maybe rook from a goes to b1, if black would capture, white would recapture, game would be equal. Still here it would be a very interesting to see if black would play rook to c2. That would be a very interesting continuation, because after rook to b8 with the check, king has to go somewhere, let's say to e7. If now white grabs the rook and black grabs the knight, so black is exchanged down. Still black has this free pawn, and this knight on f2 is still pinned. Of course, white wouldn't be able to play king to h1 because bishop simply captured, and if rook captures, we have rook to c1 with mate in the next move. So here white would have to lose a couple of tempi to release this pin, let's say after g4, then let's say rook to c2, after king to g2, bishop to d4, maybe after king to g3. Now this knight is free, but after c3, this pawn on c5 is very much advanced, even with the exchange down. This would be a very, very interesting continuation to play. In the game, however, white doesn't go for it, so white doesn't capture queen. Instead, queen goes to c4. First of all, defending his knight on c3. Second of all, attacking bishop on c5, and moreover, threatening with queen to e6 with this deadly attack on uncastled king on e8. And moreover, white also threatens with rook to b1, skewering this queen, grabbing this rook. So black more or less has no other option but to play bishop to f2 check. Now, of course, rook cannot capture because then this rook on a1 is for free. So in the game, white plays, of course, the only move, king to h1. And now the game is very complicated. Of course, black is a piece up, but this bishop is under attack, and bishop simply cannot go away. For example, after bishop to b6, white simply plays rook to a2 and the queen is trapped. If, for example, black plays bishop to a7, again rook goes to b1, and after maybe, I don't know, queen to c2, then simply rook captures on b8. After bishop recaptures, it's queen to c8, and after king goes somewhere, I don't know, e7, queen simply captures rook. If black captures knight, then queen captures bishop, and white has a decisive material advantage. So black has to somehow trade the queens, and the correct continuation for black would be to play queen to b4. Well, let's see, if queen goes to b4, because after queen to c7, now black can castle kingside, because if white plays rook to b1, queen is under attack, but now queen can go to c1, now to c5, because on c5 queen is protected by the bishop. And on black also attack this queen on c7. In the game, however, black plays queen goes to b3. And now, of course, white cannot trade queens because white has to attack further, so queen goes to c7. Now, black cannot castle because then we have rook goes to b1, and this rook on b8 is double attacked. So black plays queen goes to b6. And now white continues the attack, queen goes to e5 with check. Now, if king goes to d7 or d8, then rook goes to d1, and king is harassed pretty much. So king has to try his luck on the king side. Well, of course, king cannot go to f8 because then rook goes to b1, attacking this queen, and now queen to c5 doesn't help because rook captures on b8 with check. So in the game, black plays king to f7. Now rook to b1 doesn't work because if rook goes to b1 after queen to c5, yeah, white can capture, but there is no check, and this queen is still under attack. So white continues the attack with knight goes to d5, attacking this queen on b6. Now let's see. If queen goes to a7, for example, then white simply plays rook captures here this bishop on f2. Of course, if black recaptures, then we have this queen to c7 check. Now, king cannot go to, I don't know, f8 or e8 because white simply captures rook and then also the other rook. So here black would have to play king to g8. Why? Well, if king goes to e8, we have queen to e7 checkmate. So after king to g8, we have knight to e7 check. And of course, if king goes back to f7, knight to a5 check. After, I don't know, maybe king to g8, of course, is queen to g7 checkmate. If, however, king goes to g6, queen to g7 check, king to h5, and queen to h6 checkmate. If, however, king decides to go maybe, for example, to, I don't know, h5, we have queen to e5 check, and of course, if king goes to h4, we have h3, and of course now queen has to capture this because otherwise checkmate, and the end is near. If, however, black plays g5, again queen captures on f6. Of course, rook cannot go to b6, protecting this h6 square because queen is attacking rook on h8, and after maybe, I don't know, queen to b6, then we have queen to f7, and of course if king goes to h4, we have g3, king to h3, and queen to h5 checkmate. So here in this position, queen would have to go to g6, but after that knight captures and white gets decisive material advantage. Okay, so let's go back to our game. In the game, knight captures here on d5, and of course queen recaptures. Check. Well, of course, if black can interfere with the queen to e6, but then queen captures, king captures, and rook captures bishop on c2, and white has a 2-pawn advantage, and this is winning for white. So black definitely tries to keep this bishop, so king to e7 was played, and now again queen goes to e5 check. Again, if king goes, for example, I don't know, king can go either to d7 or maybe to f7. Let's say if king to d7, then white plays simply rook to c1. So here white takes over, let's say, all files, all squares on the c file, and white only needs to place his rook on d1 with a deadly attack on the king. So in the game, black plays king to f7, and now white plays rook goes to c1, preparing this rook to c7 with deadly attack on the king. Well, of course, if black plays a random move, we have rook to c7 check, and of course, if king goes to f8, then queen to g7, king to e8, and queen to e7 checkmate. If, however, king goes to g6, then let's say rook to g7 check, king to h6, and queen to g5 checkmate. So here in this position, black would have to sacrifice this queen, and then black is lost. If, however, black tries to protect this c7 square with rook to b7, well, then again we have queen to d5 check, and let's say if king goes to g6, we have rook to c6 double attack on king and queen. If, however, king goes, for example, to e7, again rook to c6 attacking the queen. Well, if queen tries to arrive on d8, then we have rook to e6 check, and of course if king goes to f8, then queen simply captures. If, however, king goes to f7, then we have rook to d6, and we have discover attack on the king and the queen. Well, yeah, maybe black would try with bishop to g3, trying to provoke this h captures on g3, where then queen to h6 secures the draw, because after the only move, king to g1, queen to e3, of course white cannot play a rook to f2, because then this is losing for white. So here we have this perpetual check. So here in this position, yeah, I'm sure white will find the correct continuation by simply queen to g3. White is 2 pawns up with king in the open space. White is simply winning. And realizing all this in this position, black had enough and resigned the game. So I hope you like this game. I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, my email is below in the description. Of course, I invite you to visit my Instagram page. That's it for now, and see you soon.